I'm Wade Sankey. This is the Sankey Rodeo Show podcast from the cabin right here on the ranch in Sankey, America. It's not going to get any better than that. You just will go. Okay, Parker Breding, 4-time NFR bull rider from right here over the hill. How far is it to your house?
I think it was about 35 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, not far.
Probably could ride there faster.
Uh-huh. Yeah, with the route I had to take, I bet a horse would get there probably half time.
Yeah. Yeah. So you grew up here. It's awesome that you've been to the NFR, but I want to talk about the dynamics of your dad being one of the baddest cats that's ever strapped one. What's it like growing up like that? Because you were old enough to watch him do a lot of that.
Yeah, I was, old enough to know what was going on and comprehend everything during the back half of his career. Actually, kind of pretty young during the start of his golden years, but I remember a lot of it, and I cherish that deeply. The time I got to spend going to the rodeos with my dad, and just the feeling, mainly the feeling that I got being at the NFR with him riding, is what put me where I am today. I wanted that very bad myself, so that's kind of what carried me through. And it's just, people always ask what do you think about the announcers always talking about your dad when you're getting on a bull instead of you? And I love it. Like I love any bit of publicity he gets, because I believe he was extremely underrated for what he did and his capabilities for sure. And bottom line is I feel extremely blessed that he's my dad.
And he's a good guy.
Oh yeah, that's probably the most common thing I hear from people in regards to him is that, man, he's one of the best guys I ever met, and he really is. And very lucky to be able to grow up having somebody like that around all the time.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys got a really good relationship still?
We do. We really do. I think I take it for granted a lot that I can just call him at any moment, and no matter what it is, whether it's my vehicle, something wrong with it, or bull riding, I can call him at any time. I think the past few years I've kind of tried to do things my own way, and that's probably why I haven't been back to Vegas in 4 years, but definitely need to take more advantage of having an amazing figure like that that's right there at any time.
Yeah. So what are you doing different?
Well, I don't know. I kind of got comfortable with where I was at, I believe, in my career. And when you get comfortable, the fire dies a little bit for things. And I think that I've just been kind of lacking that drive to be somebody, and got comfortable with, well, I'm decent at riding bulls, so I can just go and do it and I'll make a living. And that's not what got me to Vegas or all the things that I have accomplished, and I need to get back to the things that I was doing then, I think.
Yeah, how come exactly? I'm really good at this interview and stuff, but you talked about losing the fire. What's the cause of the transition?
Oh, you mean for
just
what?
Tell me more about what you're thinking about getting comfortable and then changing things and what you're doing.
Well, mainly I think I got away from the reasons that I started doing this to begin with, and that's that even though it terrified me and always has, I've always loved riding bulls and I've loved rodeo, and I think I allowed myself to get burnt out on that, and it became kind of a job to where, if you show up with any less than 100% effort, then it just basically becomes only dangerous. And I think that I needed to kind of get back to the roots of why I started riding bulls, and that's that I love it. And I've been feeling that a lot more lately. after 7 months off with an injury. These last, I think I've been on about 6 now. I've really felt more like home, like it used to, where I was very scared when I nodded my head, but that was always a good thing. Fear and the adrenaline always, I believe, carried me through any of my great moments. And when I relax and treat it like a job and try to not let the fear in at all or anything like that, I think it makes me lazy and maybe even more awake on a bull's back. And I know that for sure. The last at least 2 years, when I'd nod my head, I would be very awake and be kind of trying to manually do something when I nodded my head, and it either work or it wouldn't, but more often than not, it wouldn't work. And lately this month, I've been clearing my mind and maybe not knowing what the bull even is that I got under me and just riding to ride. And I think that's going to be key 100%.
So you said it's always scared you?
Mm-hmm.
Like you were scared from the first one you ever got on?
Yeah.
And you kept doing it?
Yeah. So, and that's probably kind of the beauty of it for me even, is that every time I get on a bull, I'm kind of overcoming maybe some demons that some other guys might not have. Cause I've asked people their thoughts on it, and I've gotten the answer, "Oh, I'm not scared," or I might get a little nervous, but I'm never scared. I get that answer all the time. And I just think that, like, you gotta be lying, cause getting on a, 14 to 1800 pound animal that they're they're just trying to get you off their back, and they're extremely unpredictable. And so when I was little anyway, going to those rodeos with my father, it used to just terrify me. And partly because that's dad and I don't want anything to happen to him, but partly just taking in what a bucking bull was and seeing them in the back pen, and they snuff at you on the fence, and they're so big and so muscular and powerful. And that used to just terrify me. And I would flat out tell people when I was pretty little that I wasn't going to be a bull rider. I had various answers, but I remember one specific phase was I was going to be a team roper and a paleontologist. Don't know what the thoughts were behind that exactly. I guess Jurassic Park probably came out around then or something. I don't know, but and then I was really into bullfighting for a long time. That scared me less because you're already on your feet and you're already facing them. You're not hitting the ground and trying to get up and get away or anything. I mean, you might be in a scenario, but so I idolized Rob Smets for a long time and watched the Wrangler bullfights, and that's what I was gonna do, and bullfight the dogs all the time and stuff. And it wasn't till I was probably about, I got on calves at brandings, like Clint Bronger's branding and stuff. I'd get off the ground on their back, and you're not even holding on to anything, so that was terrible, but I loved it. And them suckers could buck too. And I don't know why I did that so easily, but I was never going to be a bull rider, I would say. And then when I was about 8 or 9, we had a big old tame roping steer that we named Norman. And like, you could pet him, and we put a halter on him or a rope or something and snubbed him up to the fence in my grandpa's pen. And I got on him, and I'm pretty sure that was the first like official thing I got on. I didn't really do much mutton busting, a little bit, but even that I didn't want to do. And he crow hopped about 4 jumps, and I was riding him pretty good. And I don't know if I woke up and realized I was doing it or what happened, but I went flying out the back and laying on my face and broke my nose. And I said, I'm sure I was crying and yelling, "I'm never doing this again," or something like that. And well, like a month later was the Bridger Rodeo, and a week goes by, and I want to enter it. And I think from that moment I was definitely hooked. Like riding the calves at Brandings, it was the feeling of them bucking under you was fun, but because you're a lot bigger than them, you're pretty safe. You can land on your feet, or at least I was at that age. And I think that rope and steer, though, just being in timing with him for them 4 jumps, that awesome feeling, it took hold then. And like, I was terrified getting on him, but the adrenaline and the thrill of being on his back for a few jumps was just, I don't know, it was like an addicting thing. And still to this day, that's what I love in bull riding, is just riding them jumps. I don't know how to explain it other than that, I guess, but the feeling of riding a bucking animal and being in time with them is just something that I don't know if you can get it somewhere else or not, in any other sport, but it's definitely, uh, I don't know, just something else to me.
Yeah, that's. I think they call that a white moment in sports, where everything goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there definitely is like these moments out there that, and it's cheesy and romantic, however you want to put it, but just the feeling of it's just you and that bull or horse, whatever it is, and nothing matters but that in that time. And it's like a little mini escape from just everything, because like I remember having some rough times as a kid, that something I'd be terribly worried about, and I'd go to the horse palace, and for that night nothing mattered. Like I was getting on a steer, and that's all that mattered, and being on their back. But then when you hit the ground, like the world's there again, and you're just wanting another time to go get in that moment down the road. um, yeah, it's an amazing thing.
So have you ever worried about a mental game, or has it always been natural?
I think it would have taken me a lot further had I made it natural. Um, and like from the time I was little, my dad, he read this book called The Inner Game of Tennis, and it's a mind book about visualization. And uh, so I'd get a lot of crap from the other steer riders or buddies of mine, that I'd go sit down on my gear bag or somewhere, and I'd close my eyes and just sit there for a while. So to them, I'm sure it looked pretty weird, but for me, I was over there. Dad told me to, like, in your mind, get on the steer, the bull, whatever, and visualize yourself riding them, but make it completely real. Like all the sounds you'll hear, all the smells, like the warmth off his back, make everything as real as you can, and then ride him a couple or three times and have him do something different every time, and try to imagine just all of it. And then that, I don't know if he told me or if I kind of added it in. I might have added it in, but I would imagine hitting the ground and that feeling of elation that you get when you successfully did your job, and people high fiving you and them announcing, 88 or whatever. And uh, I believe that helped me a ton. And back to what we first started talking about, I lost that even somewhere along the line. I don't even do that anymore. And it's such a simple thing to make yourself do. It only takes a couple of minutes, but it's like I get to a rodeo and I just don't even think about it. So I think that the mental side of things, I've always been kind of a head case, and it depends on what me shows up sometimes, because I could be beat before I even show up somewhere, with the mental stuff. But I wished I had kind of taken that advice, and then also what you just said about just kind of doing it, and not bringing in the mental stuff. Like maybe visualize it, and then take that you did it, and then shut your mind off after that, and then just go do it, because everything's repetition and your body remembers. I mean, even my first bull back after 7 months, it literally was like riding a bike. Granted, he was pretty nice, but came out away from my hand, and I just started moving and rode him better than I have rode one in a long time. Uh, so, I mean, I think it should be both mental and the other way.
Yeah. So did Scott help you with, like, that's pretty awesome to have even an understanding that a mental game exists at a junior rodeo.
I agree.
As a kid, is there, I mean, there's guys that rodeo their whole life, and some of them are natural and some of them are head cases, but they might rodeo their whole life and never realize that there is a difference between a strong head game and being a head case. But what else did Scott help you with?
Oh, I mean everything.
Did he help you rodeo? Like, teach you how to enter, where to go?
He did. I mean, he'd give me advice on that, but basically by the time I was kind of entering pro rodeos, and then I should have said when we started this, I have a bad memory too, so I might say I don't know or I don't remember a lot, but
You did say that.
did I? Oh shit. You even got me. But he did help me at like NRA rodeos and all that. He taught me how to enter and do all of that from the beginning, like the basis of it, call Procom, or I mean, I guess back then he would get the physical business journal from the Pro Rodeo Sports News, and he'd have stuff circled, and I would take his old ones, or if he had an extra, and I'd go do the same thing when I was little, acting like, oh, I'm gonna go to Del Rio or whatever, and so he did teach me a lot of that. But when I got to my permit year pro rodeo, and I do remember him saying that, well, this has changed a ton since I went, and it probably had. And so he kind of let me and Maverick kind of do our own thing with the entering and everything, as far as making a plan. And he'd always give me advice, but he didn't ever hover over me and tell me where to go or anything like that. He always had a great, or has a great knack for knowing when to kind of step in or say something, I guess, and when to kind of let me figure it out. I think he's always good at that. And he kind of let me figure some things out on my own, or the hard way, however you want to put it, and then helped me plenty as well.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever a time when he just told you how dumb you were and can't believe you're doing it this way?
No, I mean, just because of the guy that he is, he would probably never say that, but he has definitely told me when he disagreed with what I was doing or how I was going about it, or he'd oftentimes say, well, when I was going, I never did this or that, and I'm sure I had some snotty remark back to him like, well, it's different now, or that was a long time ago, or whatever. But I always appreciate it. Well, for example, even me being a bull rider at all, he told me when I was pretty young that I'm not gonna try to coax you into doing this, but if you want to do it, I'll support you 1,000% and help you in any way you need. But I will never pressure you to do this, and you don't have to ride bulls if you don't want to. Mm-hmm. And I think that it goes the opposite. Maybe for a lot of other young kids across the world, they might have somebody pressuring them if their old man rode bulls
or wanted to,
or unsuccessfully and wanted to or whatever. But yeah, he never tried to live anything through me, which why would he need to? He did it all. And I appreciated that, and that gave me, blueprints for if I have a little boy someday. I've said the same thing. Like, I kind of don't want him to ride bulls too bad, because I know, I mean, obviously it's dangerous, but it is a very hard life. But at the same time, there's going to be a part of me that does want him to do it too, because it's an amazing thing, and I can help him do it. But I'm never going to ask him or try to make him do it or coax him into it by any means.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's harder to watch a family member, especially a child, go through danger.
Yeah, and I got a taste of that. My little brother, he's 12 years younger than me, and he decided he wanted to do it. It was ways back now, but he was already kind of at age where he'd have to get on a little bit bigger stuff. But Jess Matt had some like bum calves over at the Bridger Rodeo grounds and said we could run them in. And I will say this, having never been on anything, man, I think he would have maybe been better than me. He just naturally immediately looked great on them. Like, had good form, and you don't ever see that on a first-time person getting on a bucking animal. Like, he looked good on their back. And he only got on the 3 that day or something. But anyways, that scared me to death. And they're just little calves, but I love my brother, and I just didn't want him to get hurt. And then he's mentioned, or maybe my folks have, that he wanted to try it again not that long ago, and it scares the crap out of me because now he's at the age where he just turned 21. He's got to get on actual bucking bulls. I mean, you can put him on cows or something, but yeah, like I would help him if he wants to do it, but I hope he doesn't at the same time.
Yeah.
It is very hard to watch a family member do it.
Yeah.
And I got just a tiny taste of that and found that out.
Yeah. So I'm going to try not to get sidetracked because I like the conversation. But speaking of that, like your brother's 21, wants to start rodeoing, riding bulls. How would you go about it? How would you go about helping him? How would you go about helping him do it the right way, in your opinion?
I think in my opinion, I would literally probably put him on, like, if we could gather him up, either some overgrown roping steers or even just cows, maybe some Angus cows or something, that because he's a great horseman. He trains colts and he actually has trained a few barrel horses successfully, and so he can ride and he understands animals. So that's a plus. But um, I would definitely want him to be on something larger because he'd have to do it pretty fast anyway. But I'd want him to not do a whole lot just so that he could feel kind of the power, because even an Angus cow has some power, even though they don't have the shoulders and stuff that a bull does. But they're always going to move forward too. I mean, if they turn back, they might suck back a little bit, but I think I'd probably put him on one of those or a few of those, and because that's just probably the most controlled thing you could do.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is I bought one of them Buckrite machines a long time ago, and that thing's pretty good just for the up and down motion, which is all bull riding is. Even if they're spinning, there's a little up and down most cases. Um, and then I would try to baby him for as long as I could with getting on things, because at that age it'd be very easy to enter anything and draw a 22-point animal and immediately break an egg in you, which is kind of what happened when he got on them calves. The third one, I don't know why, frostbit calf just sucked back and got it on in the gate with him and put him on his head. And he decided he didn't want to do it after that. And I was kind of, at that point, I was kind of bummed just because he really did naturally look good on him. But because he was born so much younger than me and my sister, or so much later, he wasn't in the time period of my dad riding and getting to see all that stuff. So things kind of went the way they did. But if he wanted to do it, truly wanted to do it, I would help him, but I would go about it very, very lightly, because there's a lot of people that, I mean, you see it, all these arguments all over Facebook about it, but putting young kids on things that are way over their head, and it's just common sense stupid to me to put a low level guy on something that even turns back, unless they're barely bucking at all. But that don't help them either, because then they're not riding. They're just sitting there on their back. Even on a flat spinner ain't good for a guy. But yeah, it's it's a tough world out there with the kids getting on or getting helped with getting outs on animals and stuff, because there's a lot of people that just don't care. They just want their animal bucked, or they have too old school of a mindset about, well, we got on all this or that when we were young. Well, I mean, that might be why you didn't make it very far too, though, because my dad held me back, and I was thankful for it, because I've seen some friends that took off too early and they weren't riding by the time I was going to pro rodeos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's basically two ways to do it. Just like you said, the old school way, just go get wrecked out. If you want to do it, you'll keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you're saying, like basically two different frames of mind, and everybody's got their own opinion. I've talked to a lot of bucking horse guys about it, not many bull riding guys. But what would you do, especially in this area, because this is not North Carolina where they buck bulls every week,
right,
or every day of the week. What do you suggest? I mean, get them through the stage where they're blacking out, And then once they can do a little bit of something and kind of defend themselves, that's the term I use, then what?
Well, basically, I would ideally want a guy starting out to be successfully riding bigger animals that are going straight, um, and hopefully bucking, not just running.
Yeah.
Like a lot of cows are just gonna take off.
Yeah, but they need to have enough to help.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that's where the buck right comes in, and then just repetition of riding that thing, and then if they're successfully riding something that's going straight, then I might suggest enter the Cody Night Rodeo. But even that your draws, it's not screened. So, and I was at the Cody Night Rodeo when somebody'd bring some stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure, I never had it confirmed, but I'm pretty sure I got on Yellow Jacket Junior there when he was young. I don't know if Chad owned him, but I have a video of it.
Wait a minute. Yellow Jacket Junior or Little Yellow Jacket?
Junior. He was
Okay.
He had to have been a calf out of Little Yellow Jacket, but I don't know. He looked just like him, and I had heard Berger had sent some stuff there, and uh, he bucked just like him. Went out, hop, skipped, and I don't remember which way he went, but I rode him a ways and then bucked me off. And uh, anyways, like I was getting on anywhere from a 70-point bull to an 88-point bull down there, um, and there's some really good people behind the Cody Night Rodeo. So I think if you talked to them and told them maybe that a guy doesn't need something way over his head, maybe they'd help you out. But then again, it is a competition, so that might not be fair. So I'm not sure, but or the NRA, if they're past the level where they're successfully riding a few animals, then I'd say they could probably start entering some things. But and there are, I mean, the NRA is a good one. They've got some buckers in their draws too, but there's, I think, a good route going with amateur stuff, and not being in the habit of, oh, I'm 18, I'm going to enter a PBR or something like that, because that stuff's way over their head, unless they're successfully staying on a lot of bulls that are turning back and being 85 plus. I wouldn't suggest the PBR to anybody.
Yeah. What about colleges?
What about them?
Do you think college, I mean, education is also part of college, but what do you think about the quickest way to progress somebody's bull riding career? Is going to a college a good idea, or do you think they're better to go to bull ridings and knock around here or there?
I mean,
did you go to college?
So I went to Miles City for pretty much the fall rodeo season, and I still regret it. Wally Badgett's an amazing guy, and if I could go back, I might have done it different. But I ended up leaving sometime in late fall or maybe early winter to head to Texas and just go be a bull rider. But I got to see what it was like, and it was a great stepping stone. And that was what my dad and Clint, because they both went to college and had successful college rodeo careers, and so that's just kind of what you did. To me, when I was young, you did high school rodeos and some NRA stuff throughout high school, and then you moved on to college rodeos, and the moment you're done with that, or even on the back half of that, you start entering PRCA rodeos. But I think that college is a great route. I don't know if it's changed since I've been there or not. That was 15 years ago now, but the bulls I was getting on at college rodeos were just right, really. I think the highest I was maybe 84 points in our fall rodeos, but I think that if I was asked about it, I would say go to college.
Yeah.
And I mean, beyond that, I don't know how far a degree gets you anymore, but I think that going to college is a helpful step with a few things in life, just responsibilities and being on your own, and helps kind of ease you into the transition of life.
The real
where,
world.
Yeah, where you're in charge rather than your folks.
Yeah.
So I would still suggest going, because I know that, I would suggest going to these Montana schools anyhow, because it's always a lot of good people involved with the college rodeo, um, and even the professors I had, or whatever you want to call them, at Miles City, were very nice people, and I wish I would have stuck that out. I don't know if it would have made anything different or not, but
It could have completely changed the trajectory of your rodeo career too.
it really could have. So what ended up
Good
happening
and
was
bad.
I went to Texas. Well, I guess they had them EPBs back then, Elite Professional Bull Riders, which that was a great little organization. They had kind of PBR level bulls, maybe like the B or C pen in a PBR event, um, but it was just so accessible. There was a bunch of them around Montana. That was the first big thing I went to. That was the big time for me when I got into the Havre, Montana EPB. And I went there and rode my long round bull and rode the short round bull like 7 seconds, and would have won the whole thing and all that. Um, but that's a whole other story, I guess. But anyhow, I won one of those EPBs in Helena and won like 3,500, which was probably all I had in my account after that. And so I left college and thought 3,500 is enough to move to Stephenville, Texas, and go enter some bull ridings down there. And I had a buddy, Clayton Algren, that was already down there doing that, and I had hit him up and asked if like I could come down and meet up with him, maybe live in that place he's living, and just go to bull ridings. And he was like, hell yeah, man, come on down. Like this lady's got another room you can rent. And so me and another buddy that was in college there at Miles City, Andrew Smith, who rode bulls, very, very good. He was about 4 foot tall, but he could ride. He rode like Terry Don West, and just took the power away from him. And he hopped in with me in my blue PT Cruiser, and we just left. We didn't withdraw from college or anything, which I regret that very much, because I owed way more to Wally Badgett than that. I did wrong by him doing that. But we drove all the way down to Texas and started living in a little house and entering the Fort Worth thing on Friday nights. And like that kind of showed me that I wasn't the bull rider I thought I was, for sure, which I've never been a cocky person anyway, but I knew I was good, and I wanted to go down there where the real stuff happened and be somebody. And it's hard to say I regret it too, though, because I got exposed to, high level bucking bulls and being on my own, and that being my living. And it made a man out of me for sure, but I also didn't do it for too long. I got my PRCA card, I think, a year and some change later, and took off. But I do wonder, though, what the trajectory of my career would have been had I stayed in school and maybe tried to win a college title and got a degree, because I was going for small business management or something, and that would have helped me with a lot of problems I've had financially anyhow. But yeah, it's a lot of what ifs, but at the same time, maybe I wouldn't have made the NFR at all had I done that. You never know.
Yeah, it could have changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But just talking about your brother and trying to, the right way to go about riding bulls. How come you didn't go to the PBR? Because then, I'm not trying to date you like you're real old or anything, but then the PBR was the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of leveled out now, but
That's a great question. So back then, I entered a touring pro, they used to be called. I don't know if the low ones are still called that anymore or not, but I entered the one in Sydney, Montana, which my dad was judging it anyway. So I entered that the moment I turned 18, and I wanted to do both because that's what he did. He made the NFR and the PBR finals a few times, and he was one of the original people at the PBRs. He just didn't get a cut of the money, but he got offered anyhow. So he was there in the beginning, and I respected the PBR and wanted to do that as well, because that's where the money was at.
yeah,
And still is.
and the TV.
They blow away anything we can win in the PRCA. It's getting way better, but they still blow it out of the water. And the TV, the publicity, the sponsors, all that. That's the rock star route, and the cowboy route was the PRCA. So because I was that little boy at the NFR with my dad, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make the NFR so bad. I used to wear his jackets around. I wore his ring for a long time, which now looking back, I regret. It just kind of looked like a tool. But and I had this excuse that I put it on my free hand, because back then an old guy would tell you put a rock in your free hand, and that way you can feel it, and that way you'll be able to control it or whatever. Well, I told him that's why I put that ring on, but it was just because I loved it. But yeah, so I wanted to do both, but my heart was always in the PRCA, because and still to this day, I always love rodeos more than being at a bull riding event where they buck 40 or 50 head of bucking bulls. I love bull riding, but I love being at a rodeo where I get to see all the events, and it's just more of a cowboy thing to me. And making Vegas was the biggest dream I had, so I was pursuing that way harder. I entered some PBR events when I was young, and I had some success at them. Even that first one I went to, I think I won the long round that night. I was 86 and thought I was really somebody, and go into the short go, and Shane Gunderson runs in a big white bull named Oklahoma Star or something, and he bucked so hard. He was in the gate to the left, and I'd have been 92, I bet, but I didn't even warm him up. But it was a great experience, because I learned, what you got to get on to win is going to be something like that. And I wasn't ready. So I backed off PBR deal and started going to more rodeos again. But, and I don't regret that either. I just respect the NFR so much and what it is and the history of it. And, being there when I was little, it was just one of the coolest experiences I was ever a part of. And that always fed my fire, was
To
making
rodeo.
it there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So trying to kind of split this up where we talk about your dad, then we talk about you, but your dad was same era as Clint, of course. Clint Bronger, Jim Sharp, Tuff Hedeman, Ty Murray, Cody Lambert, Cody Custer, Lane Frost. Like, those guys are certainly not the pioneers of the sport, but they changed it.
Yes,
and he was right in the middle of it. Like, is that something you noticed?
Yeah, definitely. That time period with all of those guys you mentioned, to me, was the peak of rodeo and bull riding. Because on the rodeo side of things, you could spend 2 hours naming off people as well.
Mm-hmm.
The saddle, bronc, bareback, all of it. But that was the peak, just because those guys were so big. They were just legends, to me, or at least. And for my dad to be right in the middle of it, that's like, he rode through a tough era. And like, don't get me wrong, mine's just as tough, because there's 18 to 27-year-old kids right now that ride way better than I do. But for him to ride with the wolves that he had to ride with, and to stand toe to toe with them the way he did, I've got the utmost respect, because each and every one of those guys should be in the Hall of Fame to me. I don't know where they're all at with that, but they belong there to me. And I mean, to me as well, my dad does, but he didn't get a gold buckle, but he should have, for sure. But that was one of the coolest eras in rodeo. Those guys were just, I still got posters and old PSNs and old PBR magazines of them guys they were legends. And I think it's the coolest thing ever that my dad was a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's, like you said, there's guys that ride great now, but they all did it at the same time. And all those guys riding now are doing it because of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like going back to what you said, I mean, maybe by definition they weren't the pioneers, but they were pioneers for sure. They paved the way, and then even with them starting the PBR, um, because I think without the PBR, maybe, I mean, who's to say, but maybe the PRCA doesn't have the money it has right now.
Exactly.
Without having something else that is doing better than you.
Yeah.
What are you shooting for, I guess?
Competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then seeing where a rodeo event can go has shown the PRCA where it can go and what steps to take to do it.
Yeah.
So those guys were pioneers. If they weren't the pioneers, they were pioneers, and they've made a lot of this possible, 100%.
Yeah. How many times did Scott go to the finals? NFR and PBR finals.
He made the NFR 5 times, and I believe he went to the PBR finals 3 times.
Yeah.
Kind of in the later 90s, but he started out at the very first ones, as far as I know.
Yeah. So you've been to the NFR 4 times.
Yeah.
Is there anything bugging you that he's been there more than you?
Yeah. Like, it don't eat away at me or anything. It is what it is, and it's my fault. But I always wanted to, and you're not supposed to compare yourself or anything, but I had my father as a guideline, so I always wanted to do what he did. And
yeah.
He won Rookie of the Year in the NRA, and I wanted to do that, and I screwed up. He told me, don't buy your card yet. You're not ready. Well, I won some money at a couple NRA rodeos, and I go and buy my card and fall off the rest of the year and get third in the Rookie of the Year, and should have listened to him. And he won the college national finals, and I wanted to do that for a minute, and then, made a decision that cost me doing that. And he won PRCA Rookie of the Year. Well, I tried my butt off. My only fault on that is that I rodeoed when Trey Benton did his rookie year. He won, I don't even know, 100 and something thousand, which was way more to us back then. And I think I won 45,000 that year or something. And Pendleton was a large chunk of it, but. And even then, I'm sure my dad actually, I know for a fact he told me, don't buy your card yet. Get your feet a little more wet in the PRCA, then buy your card. Didn't listen. Got second in the rookie race by 100 grand or something, maybe more.
Yeah, screw you, old man. I'm going to show you.
Yeah. So the only one I have that's left that I have control over is that 5th NFR qualification. And the heartbreaking year for that was 2019. I had 103,001 by the time I went up to Calgary, and I was sitting second in the world, I think, probably to Sage, like usual, Sage Kimsey. And I go up, I lose my passport, and I decide, I can't go. And they call me and say, hey, you can use your birth certificate. A bulldogger did that. And so I take off and drive all night to get there. And now I just kind of wonder, was that God telling me don't go? I don't know, but I jumped through some hoops to get there and ride my first 2, and on the second one tear my left knee, and ACL, meniscus, and then my PCL in that knee was already gone for years. And I come back down here. There's no insurance involved with Calgary because it wasn't PRCA sanctioned that year. And so I get down here and I don't have insurance, and I can't use the PRCA's insurance then. So I'm stuck with a $68,000 knee surgery. And my dad, once again, told me, don't get the surgery, just rehab it. I've done it. I tore my ACL too, and I have never had surgery. And I go book the surgery. I want to do things right. And a week later, my surgery's a month later. A week after the injury, I'm jogging on it, and I don't feel good, but I'm jogging on it. But I already scheduled this surgery and made the decision I'm doing it. And so I go have a major reconstructive knee surgery and ended up 15th in the world standings on September 30th. And I'm sweating bullets because I'm like, I made the finals, and what am I going to do? can I get on a bull like this? And I had a couple months, well, September, October. So about 2 full months to let this thing heal up. And my doctor's going to hate me. Everybody's going to be mad, but even the 16th place guy's probably going to be pissed at me because I'm not even going to be able to walk, and I'm going to take a spot up at the NFR, but I want that fourth qualification. And in the final hours of September 30th, Trey Kimsey wins an Extreme Bulls and bumps me out into 16th by like 1,000 or something. And I think at that point that was God, even because come NFR time, I am not able to ride a bull. There's no way I could have got on 10 head. It would have been wasting a spot for sure.
Yeah.
And
so it was kind of relieving.
Yeah, it ended up being very relieving.
Yeah.
But I'm also sitting here thinking, if I didn't have knee surgery, I could have kept riding, and it would have took $1,000 check to put me in there.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd have my 5 now, hindsight.
And still have your $68,000.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because, well, that was a blessing in itself. I went to the finance office at the hospital, and you can't tell me there's not a God, because I go in there and give them all my finances, and the lady tells me then, well, you qualify for catastrophe, so you're going to get a good chunk of this off, it looks like, but we'll let you know. And another week later, approaching surgery date, they call me back in and say, you might qualify for up to 80% off. And I was thinking, oh man, that would be great. And I have the surgery. I get a bill for $4,000 is all. And I pay it that day. And I got it back in the mail. So I got my surgery 100% off. And I do not know if the doctor is a very good guy, world-renowned surgeon. And I don't know if he pulled some strings or what happened with that deal, but I didn't have to pay a dime.
Might have a rich uncle somewhere you didn't know about.
You never know. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what about bull riders? Well, any rodeo guys, there's no insurance. I mean, the PRC insurance is meager at best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you go about that? How do you pay for injuries?
Well, if you're a responsible adult, when you start making some money, you go get your own insurance, which I should have done the moment I had any money. But I mean, my dad works for the state highway department, so he had decent insurance till I was 26. So I was on that boat for a long time, and then boom, no insurance suddenly at 26. And you'd think even that day, go buy your own insurance.
You'd think if you're a bull rider
And a responsible adult, you go buy your insurance. And I didn't do that either. And I had this habit of, because you go get something done at the doctor for whatever reason, maybe it's just me, maybe it's everybody, but I don't ever get a bill for months.
Mm-hmm.
I forget it even happened, and I get this $10,000 bill in the mail. And if you don't address that fairly quickly, then you're getting calls from random numbers all the time, and you answer one and they tell you it's a debt collector, and well, then your credit's in the garbage. Your ability to get rental cars is in the garbage. Like, I should have done that completely different. I paid off a few of them, and then some of them I let go. There was one that I purposely let go because I was so angry. Told the people I do not want care. I broke my eye socket and some ribs, and they talked me into going over there in the ambulance. They say it's across the street, so it won't be nothing. That's BS. It cost a lot. And then they give me like 2 CAT scans, and it's my face is swollen, my eye's swollen shut. I don't need a CAT scan. And that was like a $13,000 bill. And I said, screw you guys. I know that's wrong and not responsible, but I let the 7-year thing go on that one, and it went away, or supposedly, nobody knows. But yeah, the PRCA insurance, I'm glad there's at least something, but, and maybe I misunderstand it, but if you read the card, it says to go ahead and do it and get billed and then submit that to them.
Mm-hmm.
But you only have 30 days to do that. I don't get my medical bills for a long time, way past 30 days sometimes. And so it's just tricky. It's a hassle. I think it's obviously meant to be supplemental insurance.
Yeah.
so that you have your own and they pick up the slack. But I'm thankful they have it. It has helped me a little bit here and there, but I think you got to have your own insurance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a major hurdle when you're trying to afford a rodeo.
Yeah.
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 You think cutting insurance out is probably the best thing you can do. It's pretty hard to rodeo without some sort of financial backing.
It is, because no matter how hard you try, you'll end up at the hospital at some point.
Yeah.
Even this summer with my groin, like I knew I had a torn groin and there's nothing you can do for it. But the second time I assume the scar tissue, was the worst pain I've ever been through in my entire life. I did not even know something could hurt that bad. I felt so bad for Ruger Piva. He was with me and took me to the ER in Sydney just to try to help me in any way, and there's nothing they could even do. They pumped stuff into me and it didn't touch the pain.
Really?
I'll never understand that. So you're going to go to the hospital at some point, and you might as well pre-plan for that rather than do it and then get a $3,000 bill or whatever. Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah. So, what was the black and white muley you had at Pendleton?
Yeah, old Tightrope.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool son of a bitch. There's still pictures of him floating around, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the first time I ever remember really seeing you at any event, really. But that was your rookie year,
Mm-hmm.
and won Pendleton. What's that bull mean to you?
Oh, I attribute that bull and that ride to, my whole career started off of that ride right there. Because like I say, I bought my card. I rodeoed hard as I could in 2012, and just wasn't riding at the caliber that I knew I could. And it's because I had this like view that I didn't belong there, I guess, or maybe just didn't understood that I did belong. So I made a lot of 78 point rides that would place down low, fell off a bunch of bulls that I darn well could have rode. And then the Billings summer rodeo rolls around and I have Tightrope drawn. And I had seen Brett Stahl ride him at Great Falls for 89 or something. And awesome bull ride. And I'd seen him on TV, the bull. And I knew I really wanted to try him. He was a good one. And I have him at Billings and I ride him about 6 and stub a toe. I didn't understand till I was on him that he had a little pushback during his spin. And he got me tipped forward out on his shoulder and I fell off, and I'd have been probably 90 that night. And so I'm sitting in a movie theater somewhere because it was hot. I remember. I don't remember where I was, Washington or somewhere.
Which I got to interject. You're in a movie because it's hot, which is a great trick for rodeo cowboys.
Yeah. Like the vehicles I had to drive back then were never top of the line. So I don't think I had AC, and it was like 103 out wherever we were. And, it was just me. But, so I'd go to movies sometimes just because I knew there was AC.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of people ever because it'd be in midday before the rodeo, and I'd go chill. I think I watched Ice Age like twice in Salt Lake because of that. It was just too hot, and the Hyundai didn't have AC. So, but I remember being in one of them and getting the draw for Pendleton on an email and seeing Tightrope again. And, I was pumped. I just knew I can ride that one. I know I can, and that's a great place to do it. And so I get there and go to get on him, and for whatever reason, he'd like to lean in the chute, but for whatever reason that day, he was not having it. I was in that awkward chute that doesn't have a platform.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's meant to be an out gate. I don't even know what that deal is, but so I don't have anybody really helping me. The bull's just laying on my leg on that wood, and it hurt so bad. And it was like 100 degrees that day. And so after being in the chute, which that's another thing, I know I get crap for being in there too long, but I was in there forever, and it's so hot. My hand's numb from my rope, from it being in the rope. And I finally just slide up and nod, which is what I should have done in the first place. And he's out like one and around to the right, and it was just a blur. It was, sometimes you, like we were talking about earlier, you get in that groove where you're aware of what's going on, but nothing matters. Well, this was like a blackout. It's like the bull's just making rounds really fast, and I'm just riding him, and there's not a thought going through my head. I do remember vividly having just this tiny streak go through my brain of like, holy crap, you're doing it. This is going to be a good ride. And I ride him through the whistle, and he just was bucking so hard, spinning so fast that he don't leave the spin because he wasn't mean. So I just like had to pick a time to jump off. And when I started to leave him, I was facing the grass out in the arena. But when his hip caught me and sent me, we were back facing the chute again. So I got sent straight into one of them wooden chutes and broke my nose again. And whenever anything hits my nose, there's just immediate tears. And I can't see. There's blood everywhere going down my face. And I'm still smiling, but the sports med's helping me out. And I'll just never forget Wayne Brooks announcing 92 points. And that was by probably 7 points, the highest score I ever had. One of the best feelings I ever had. I go into the sports med trailer, and it hasn't quite sunk in yet what just happened. But that ride right there kind of proved to me, just in that one day, you belong here.
Yeah.
And then it's Pendleton. You're at this awesome rodeo, thousands of people. Just one of the greatest elations I've ever had. And well, then as things go, there's Othello, Washington right down the road. You enter that, and then you come back for the short go if you made it at Pendleton. And I had finally upped my game and bought a Chevy Astro van that the bed in the back was like 5 feet long, and I'm 6 feet tall. So it was the sleeping diagonal the whole time is the only way I could fit. But that was my rodeo van, and I loved it.
Better than a PT Cruiser.
Yep, by far. And so I go to Othello. I won that. I was like 84 on a good one there. And just night and day confidence that I got off of that one ride. And I come back to Pendleton, and there's just, back then, they just kind of put you in a parking lot with the rest of the people. The contestants just had to be where everybody else was. And so I go park that van. I get back from Othello at like 2 a.m. or something, and I get out to go to the Happy Canyon place just to use the bathroom, and they won't let me in because I'm not 21. And I come back to the van, and the doors are locked. Like, I'm glad it wasn't running. Like, it wasn't too hot that night. So it was at least shut off, but I locked my keys in it. And I start panicking immediately. And I think my phone was in there as well. And I go back to the Happy Canyon, to the people I just yelled at. I just made an ass out of myself to these like bouncers or whatever they were. And now I got to come crawling back to them and ask them for help. And they were kind to me and told me, well, you can just call a tow truck. They run all night here. And so I had a guy give me his phone. I call a tow truck. They come let me in my van. It was a little hitch in the whole plan, but I already know, like, I'm going to win Pendleton. I'm going to win Pendleton. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I end up drawing a bull called Gin and Tonic in the short go of Kish's. And just the point of the rest of this story is that I didn't really know your dad, Ike, at all. I just knew he scared me. And I was very intimidated by him, and I'm sure we had spoken once or twice before, but never much. And by the time they roll my bull in, I'm standing on the chutes, and it's finally hitting me what's happening. It's a short go of Pendleton. You're coming in number 1. All you got to do most likely is ride this bull, and you win. And the thoughts try creeping in of what that would mean if you won Pendleton, the money, and all this stuff. And I'll just never forget. It was one of the coolest moments of my life. Your dad walked up to me and kind of put a hand on my shoulder and said, he was like, just remember, Parker, it's just another rodeo. Now go win this thing," and walks off. And it's like just a calm kind of took over me after that. I was like, man, he's right. It really is. I know how to ride a bull. I just need to do it. And I was good after that. I rode the bull, won the rodeo, the biggest win of my career then, and the one that kicked it all off. I think winning Pendleton kind of put me on the track to ever do anything else in the PRCA.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember just watching, being there for it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's just one of them things. Driving home, I could not believe I had just done that, and I still ride. That's the only trophy saddle I've ever won that I ride.
Yeah,
because it was built to use and it's comfortable.
Yeah.
People always say, "You're really gonna use that nice saddle up here in the mountains or whatever?"
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's comfortable, and it's just gonna collect dust if I don't.
Yeah. Who made it? Hamley's?
No.
Severe?
Severe.
Yeah.
Severe made it.
It was built to ride.
Yes.
Not to look at.
That seat is the most comfortable one I've ever had. If anything, it's probably a tad too big because I'm pretty skinny, but I don't care. It feels great. And well, I mean, I grew up riding my dad's Pendleton saddle, so
oh, that's also
it was
cool
to add my own in there and use it.
Yeah.
Now I don't even get to ride my horse. Every time we ride, my girlfriend, I give him to her because he's trustworthy, and she uses my saddle, I think, even. So I still end up on one of Dad's saddles.
There's nothing wrong with that. So you won Pendleton, and you didn't make finals that year. You made the finals the next year. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. What, that gave you the confidence, let you know you could go play with those guys. And then what? I've always thought this, not to get too mushy, but I've always thought that you were an unbelievably natural bull rider that could ride anything, any day. And nobody knew that until Pendleton. But where'd you go after Pendleton? Like what? I guess we should make it deeper than just where did you go after Pendleton. But, I mean, that kind of jump-started your career. And then was the rest of it just easy?
Definitely not easy, but easier for sure. Like directly after that, I went down to that late Texas run just so that I was still rodeoing, like Texarkana and Oklahoma City and all those. And I rode a majority of my bulls down there. Just felt like a whole new person. Felt like I literally belonged and that I could do anything I wanted to. And that's the confidence I would lack anytime I do something stupid and fall off. A lot of the time it's the confidence that just wasn't there. And I still struggle with it even after I've done some stuff. But yeah, I ended up going to the NFR just to watch. Me and Nevada Newman went to watch. He was rodeoing, I guess he was friends with Seth Glaus and Tyler Willis. And they had kind of asked him if he wanted to jump into their rig because Nevada was very talented as well, and he was going places. So, and they could tell that just because I guess backing up, Nevada and I and Dakota Lewis had kind of tried rodeoing together when we first bought our cards. We just didn't know how to enter or do anything. And Nevada won San Angelo, so he was more on the map than I was till Pendleton. And so we go watch the NFR, and we're hanging out with Seth and Tyler and them. And I had met Clayton Savage at that point and Brett Stahl, but I didn't really know him. And on the drive back after that NFR, Nevada tells me, I think you should hit up Clayton Savage and ask him if you could jump in with him. He seems like a good guy. And I've always been pretty shy about asking for anything ever. And well, I mustered up the courage to just text him and ask him, would you be willing to take on another guy?
Had he been to the finals before?
Yeah. I think 2012 was his third NFR at that point. And I knew he rode good, but what I definitely knew was that he was one of the tougher sons of guns I ever saw. Because at that NFR alone, that iced tea bowl of Burns's jerked him down in the 10th round. I think in one of the earlier rounds, which this is a little weird, but he actually got thrown against the chutes and it shoved his spur rowel into his urethra, which is the odds of that happening have got to be, I don't even know, very, very low, but just crazy. And he gets on the rest of his bulls, and then the 10th round gets jerked down by Ice T. And I'm just thinking that's the toughest guy alive. And then I'd met him, and he was always cool to me. Like, he treated me with respect. And so I text him, and he says, "Sure, you're welcome." And so then I'm just thinking, man, this is awesome. I'm going to get to rodeo with a couple NFR guys, because I didn't know Brett Stahl yet very well either, but he had just made the NFR. Maybe that was his first year. And so at that point, I'm set. Like, they're going to do all the entering, and I just got to go with them and get on. And before I know it, I'm entered in all kinds of rodeos I never would have entered before, like the morning performance at Belton, Texas on Sammy Andrews calves, and all these things that were outside my comfort zone. But because I was with them, I felt safe, I guess. And I rode way better than the year before. The Pendleton confidence and the confidence of being with them, I was finally riding to my potential. And yeah, that year I just deep down knew I was going to make the NFR, but I was also going to give it everything I had to make it happen. And so I owe a lot of my career, and he'll say, "Oh, BS, you did it yourself," but to Clayton Savage and Brett Stahl, they took me under their wing and took me rodeoing, showed me where to go and how to do it in that old Ram pickup and old beat up camper. And from then on, I kind of understood that I belong here and was able to get some things done.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Where is Brett from? Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah. You take a break?
I think I'm all right.
Well, I'm out of coffee, so I'm going to take a break.
Well, that's fine.
All right, real quick, we got to pay some bills. Got to say thank you to the Bozeman Stampede, Bozeman, Montana.
Folks, the Bozeman Stampede, greatest rodeo in the world, maybe the universe. Huge crowds, beautiful bulls, riders tougher than my Twitter feed. Other rodeos, sad. This one wins so much you'll get tired of winning, but you won't. Believe me.
So before we went to get more coffee, we were talking about getting in with Clayton and Brett and going rodeoing and the confidence he had with Pendleton and with getting in with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Was it just night and day difference?
Yeah.
Winning night and day difference?
Yeah. So to go from showing up somewhere and just kind of hoping you do good, like it's this thing that, like, if only if God wants you to win that day type of thing, to kind of realizing that God's going to help you no matter what. It's up to you, though, to go do it. And, you know, like showing up and knowing that I can win, that it's an option and it's not just this thing that is unattainable or something, or that it's luck. Like, that was the difference, that like it was in my hands and that I'm capable of doing it. It's like I realized that finally, and it was like I said, wasn't easy, but it was just so much easier.
Yeah.
And the worries, a lot of the worries leave you when you have the confidence.
Okay. So we'll get back to your traveling partners, not all that. But I was just sitting on top of the hill this morning with service, having this conversation with somebody about a young guy. And we were discussing between the two of us which one was going to tell him that praying about riding good, try not to incriminate anybody here, but praying about riding good is great, but you cannot rely on that. You have to do it yourself. And we were trying to decide who was going to tell him that. But yeah, I mean, I'm a believer. I think God's super important, but you can't pray to keep your hand closed. You have to keep your own hand closed. Talk about that a little bit.
That's a great I mean, a great topic, I guess. Because I've had a habit over my career of doing that, of like God, please, you know, help me to ride this bull, whatever. But thinking of it in a way of like it's just him giving me this ride or something, and that's, I'm fairly certain, not the case. It is that God will give you the tools and the opportunity to do it, but that it is on you after that to go do it. And just like you said, like it's not God's fault you've opened your hand and fell off at 4 or something. That's your fault. God put you in the place where you could go do it or not do it. And so the prayers, like my prayers are always more like, God, please help me to use the tools you've given me, or give me some courage and strength to do what I need to do more. It's because it is on us. Like we're presented with the opportunities, and those are gifts to me, but it's definitely in our hands as to what we're going to do with them.
Yeah. So do you think it assists in your mental game?
Like the having that
Yeah.
outlet or whatever.
Well, believing in God,
Right.
believing you got somebody in your corner.
Oh, I believe 100%. Yeah. And I've been a part of Sylvan Lacrosse's Rodeo Bible Camp in November in Miles City. It's a great deal. I tell those kids there that, because you can't ever force anybody to believe, and you shouldn't even try. But when you do, the way I put it is that I don't know how anybody could do this sport without belief in God. There's just so many variables and unknown things and scary things about what we do, even just the traveling. So to know that you're covered no matter what happens is something that I can't understand someone living without, I guess. It gives me comfort and confidence to know that no matter what happens out here on this bull or whatever, like I am fine. I'm fine. Uh, I have a place that I'm going, and even the belief itself that something ain't gonna happen because I have protection. And I mean, there's other things that go into it, bullfighters, all the things, but without the belief in God, I don't know how I would even survive a day, let alone traveling all over the country and getting on 1,800-pound animals that are angry at you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think about that quite a bit, that like God definitely must love rodeo because of all the situations that everybody's in all over the world.
Yes.
Boy, there's a lot of bad things could happen.
Yeah, it's the opportunities for something crazy or bad to happen are literally endless in this line of work. And I've always had that feeling too, just like you said, that I think God loves rodeo, and I think he takes care of cowboys. And that's another beautiful thing about rodeo, is that I don't know what the percentage would be, but I feel like it could be in the 90s, of contestants or personnel or stock contractors that are believers. And that's what makes it such an amazing community of people involved with it, and makes you feel good showing up somewhere knowing that that's the case as well. I think.
Yeah. All right, so back to traveling. You get in with those guys. That's like kind of a dream come true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every kid growing up rodeoing wants to get into somebody like that.
They do. And like I've rodeoed by myself plenty, and it is a whole different, I don't know what the word would be, but just atmosphere in any given moment when you're rodeoing with a couple people that you respect and get along with. Everything is just more fun. And you just feel like you're on this kind of train, I guess, of success when you're with two people that want to do good and that are good guys. And that was a huge blessing and a huge confidence boost to have 2 NFR guys entering me in all these rodeos and getting to show up with them and hang out with them. As far as confidence and then where my career has gone, like I said, I believe I owe a good portion of it to those 2 guys, Clayton Savage and Brett Stahl.
Yeah. So when they went away, well, wait a minute, let's talk about NFR. Where did you end up qualifying? Were you on the bubble the first year, or were you pretty thick in it?
I was right in the middle. I think I came into the finals in like 8th. So I was like I had tapped into my potential, but I didn't even at that point didn't understand that I could do better than that. I just kind of saw this hurdle of I want to make the NFR. That's my dream. And there was really nothing beyond that, which is crazy to say, but it wasn't my goal. My goal was always to win a world title, but it's like that was just up in this glass case off in the distance, but making the NFR was foremost in front of me. And so I didn't reach for the sky. I just wanted to reach that bar. And so I came in 8th, and it was amazing. And I know I could have done better even throughout that season, but that was a dream come true for sure. But being 8th, it wasn't on the bubble, but it's still that last month, it was still mathematically possible to bump me out. So I always felt on the bubble. And that can be good and bad, but it's obviously better than coasting too.
Yeah.
Because you're uncomfortable and it makes you, attain to do your job still.
Got to keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was it like when you realized you were going to the NFR? Was there like a, holy shit, I got 10 head?
Yeah. That was one of the best, like October, November, that was one of the best 2-month spans of my life. It was just, it's like every day I would wake up and realize that I made the NFR. It was so cool. And then like I team rope a little bit, and I went to that Wrangler team roping finals and at Billings at the Metra, and or whatever that arena's called now. But anyway, them announcing when I'm backing into the healing box that I was going to the NFR, that was one of the greatest feelings ever. And then knowing that I had my own jacket coming and didn't have to wear one of Dad's anymore. That was one of the coolest things. And I really do hope that every contestant that qualifies feels that way, because it's something you don't get a lot in life, I imagine. It definitely was the dream, but then when you make it, you got to come up with new dreams and new motivations to make it back, which ended up being tough for me.
How did it turn out the first year?
First year, the jitters definitely got to me. I made the mistake of thinking, which I don't know if it's a mistake for normally, but for me it was, buying new equipment to go ride with. And I rode up into the NFR. I would go to, they'd have some jackpots around the Horse Palace, or I went to Deer Lodge to a bull sale, whatever, and wanted to keep riding. That was Dad's advice. I mean, within reason, keep riding intelligently. And I did that, which is a good idea, I think, as long as you're smart. But I cracked out a new bull rope, had new glove, new vest, all these things. And the mistake to me was, I guess, I think I should have used what got me there because I was comfortable in it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a smaller, them dumb black and yellow vests I used to wear. I had a smaller old one that I rode in all year, and I show up to the NFR in a brand new Ride Right vest. Whoops. That made me look like a turtle. It was so big. And then that new bull rope, like I drew the bull everyone wanted in the first round. His name was Kojak of Frontiers. In the gate to the left, they won CBRs on him. Just awesome bull. And I ended up, I think I had the new rope, and he fought the chute a little bit, and my hand just felt like crap. Rope felt like crap. and I got longer arms. So scientifically, it's better for me to put my rope a little bit off center, because if it's in center, then it just kind of gets me tipped easier. Well, I had it dead center in the middle of his back, but I was so worried about that $250 fine you get for messing around in the chute that I end up just nodding like that. And the bull does his thing in the gate to the left, and I'm immediately tipped away from my hand to the. I don't know if there was a point of recovery or not, but felt like I was past it to me, and I land on my feet on the second jump, and that was my worst nightmare, was going to the NFR and embarrassing myself. And so I took that one pretty hard, and then the next 3 rounds I had some pretty tough draws. They were bulls I should have rode for sure, but they were definitely no Kojaks, like one of Butler's and a couple others that, bucked hard, but you could not mess up on, and I did, and fell off them. And I remember being in a panic in the locker room, just thinking I'm about to, go 0 for 10 at the NFR, and that was my worst nightmare. And then around round 5, I drew another good one of Jeff Davis's, I think, and I went at it just differently. I tried to relax and treat that like it was round 1, which I was glad I was able to have the mental strength to do that, because I rode him dead easy. And granted, he jumped out of it at about 6, which cost me probably being 85 or 6, but got him rode anyhow, landed on my feet, and then it was on. Then my NFR began, and I rode 3 more, but it does bother me that I know I could have rode 7 or 8 or even 10 that year. I drew pretty darn good. It's just the dang nerves got to me. And another story I tell, though, is, during the bronc riding, some of the bull riders will go out and help the bronc riders and be out there with their back number on. And I wish I'd have done that, because I had never been on the back of the chutes at the NFR.
Mm-hmm.
And I go rope my bull up and they roll him in. That's my first time stepping up there, is, 10 minutes before I got to do it. Them bright lights hit me bad.
Yeah.
I stood out there and saw, like, this is what this place looks like from this angle. It's insane. And man, my heartbeat was faster than I've ever felt.
Yeah.
That got to me. I should have gone out there and seen what it was like way before then.
Yeah.
So I would have that advice to any first-time NFR contestants.
Yeah. I've always thought about that for the bareback riders, because there's more electricity in that building right before the rodeo than even before the bull riding. And it's like, as many times as I've been back there, it still makes you shiver.
Yeah.
Like it would be terrifying to be an NFR bareback rider for your first time, standing back there kicking around.
Yeah. If you cherish the NFR and what it means to be there the way that I think you should, then that would be very, very difficult. And my advice would be go out there and take it all in before you get on your horse, because it's, even the strong guy, I feel like it's probably going to hit them when they step out there.
Yeah. So what about the flag horses?
What about them? That whole, you mean like the grand entry?
Yeah.
That whole deal is kind of like drawing your stock. I don't know how a baseline works for everybody, but every year I've been there, I just get drawn a random horse for the week. And I know some people have pulled some strings and gotten to pick a horse. I've seen that before, but I didn't have any strings to pull, so I've been on something random every year. I don't remember like that year or 15, but I remember 18 and 21 just didn't draw very well. And I can't remember if it was 18 or 21, but I had a giant paint horse that was just, he sucked. Didn't have much handle. Thankfully, he had a little woe to him, but just not fun to be on that horse. And he did blow up with me one of them rounds around the corner by the roping boxes. Crow hopped about 2 or 3 jumps, and everybody's yelling. But, of course, anybody who I know that was there and that didn't see that, but it had to have looked pretty funny, me laid back on this giant horse. But Yeah, it's exciting to see every year what you get for a grand entry horse.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back a little bit, the change in your stuff, I love that about the NFR is we rodeo as professionals, and this includes the production crew and the stock contractors and the contestants and everybody. But we rodeo as professionals all year long. We get the NFR, change everything.
Yeah. It makes no sense really when you truly think about it. You use something or do something a certain way all year long and it gets you success
For a reason.
for a reason, because that's what you like or that's what worked. And so to go to the most important rodeo of your life and change everything up is one of the dumbest things ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, even a new glove feels weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've grown to know now that I don't like new bull ropes. I might be the only bull rider in the world that will ever say that, but I can't stand them. They pull weird. They don't get as sticky. Everybody's like, oh, they get way more sticky because they're new. Not for me. They're hard to get sticky. I don't know why. And you better have them suckers stretched out, because a rope stretching on a bull's back when it's new is a real thing. And it can stretch and slide on them and stuff. And I now know I hate that. So, like, if I could pay somebody to get on 7 head with my new rope, I would do it nowadays. But yeah, to get on at a place that if your first time to get on at the NFR at a place where you've never been, and then also have all your equipment feel weird.
Yeah.
Because it might even feel funny to begin with, but you throw on brand new stuff. Giant mistake. Unless some guys love doing that. They love a brand new rope and they buy a new one every month or whatever, but it doesn't make sense to me, and I regret doing that.
Yeah. So it turned out pretty good the first year, and then did you go every year? It seemed like you were a staple at the NFR for a while.
No, that's one of the things that's funny is I was spread out. Like, I was 13 and 15, which wasn't bad. 14, I broke or shattered my free arm elbow at Clovis, so it all made sense that I didn't make it. But 15, came into the NFR in second behind Sage. One of the best years I ever had. I think I rode like 61 or 2% of my bulls, and that I won that first round that year, just flying high, but bad dismount. I kind of let go at the peak of his kick, landed on my back, and he ran a horn under my vest. I was blessed, though. It was watching the video, it was very, very similar to Lane Frost's wreck that killed him. Bull had some big horns and ran it right in my armhole of my vest, up under my ribs, and broke 3 of them. And I got on all 10, but I was not 100%. And I only rode 4 out of 10. I might have only rode 3 out of 10 that year. Doing all I could, but I got a couple more rode. Then 16 and 17, didn't make it. Which this is a whole topic too. When you make the NFR, for me, I put everything I have into that year to make it. I give it all I got. And then you go give it all you got at the NFR. Well, then you got to turn right around like 3 weeks later and do it all over again.
Yeah.
And that always got me so bad. I attribute that primarily to why I've never made a back-to-back NFR. I've always struggled with finding the motivation and the fire to just do it again after I just laid it all out on the table. And the first 3 years unsuccessfully, because I'd only ride 4 out of 10 was the most I'd ever rode them first 3 years. So I always kind of left the NFR like, dang, I could have done so much better. And you'd think that would light your fire to go make it back. But after those 13 or 14 days you might be in Vegas, you're over it. I mean, at least I was. I'd come home, I'd enter the Chase Hawks, which is an amazing rodeo, amazing organization, but I'd go there half-hearted because I was so wore out and just spent from the mental taxation of going to try to win a gold buckle. And then you're expected to enter, well, you have our Montana Circuit Finals in January, then you got Denver, and everything just kicks off. And I always wished that there was like a 2-month off season or something in January and February, just
Yeah.
to just cool it and forget about all of it for just 5 minutes. Because, I mean, you just hit the road again and go do it. You felt like you were just at Fort Worth or something. And
Yeah.
it's tough. And so, yeah, it cost me any back-to-back NFRs. Or, I mean, I cost me them, but that didn't help, I don't think. And then 2018 rolls around, and I had my 2 years of just so riding, and had the fire again. And man, I took off and rode good. I think I won our circuit finals by a landslide, won like 10 grand there, and just rolled. And that was the peak of my confidence that year. For whatever reason, I was confident and knew I was going to do good everywhere I went, and I did usually. Almost won San Antonio. Rode my short go bull at like 7-8 or something. Probably wouldn't have won it, I guess, because he wasn't as good as whoever won it. But roll into Houston, confidence, and win Houston. Just happened to not count in the PRCA that year, of course. They counted it the next year. But that 58,000 was just for me, not the standings. And just carried it on the entire year. And I had some down times where I was a little burnt out, but for the most part, I rode pretty well. And I think I rode like 63 or 4% of my bulls that year. I just know somebody showed me the other day that I was number 2 on the whole pro bull stats that year for riding percentage behind Sage.
Yeah.
It went Sage, me, and Jose Lemmy. And that was the peak. But then I get to the 18 NFR, and I don't know, I don't remember what I did in that off season, but I got there, started off hot, rode like 4 out of 5, and then went to falling off again. I don't know what the reason was, but once again left the finals just feeling like, man, I left some stuff on the table that time. And so what, 1920, COVID happened. I was coming off that knee surgery, and so I went to the circuit finals, found out my knee still wasn't ready, only got on one and backed out of the other 2. Then I got a hold of a good knee brace, started going. I think San Antonio was my first one. Was just getting back in it, go to Houston, fall off the first 2, have a good third bull, and boom, it shut down because of COVID. My third bull was supposed to be that night, and they canceled the whole rodeo. And so I was way behind by the time rodeo started again that year, but then I had a great year. Me and Hawkwitt went to every rodeo that we could, but everybody was at every rodeo because there was only a handful in Utah or wherever. And so we ended up like 30th and 31st in the world with like almost the same dollar amounts. We both rode good, but just there was not enough money out there to make the NFR. But so I rolled that confidence into 21, and that was another one of them years where I was riding kind of at the top of my game, not fully, but for the most part. And but I was in the middle of the pack. I never really did get up towards the top. And then at Cheyenne, I tore my groin, and for the first time, and I never turned out of anything. I kept going, but man, it hurt. I rode quite a few too, but it cost me a bunch too. I had never had an injury that I could feel on a bull's back when they're bucking before. Usually the adrenaline takes over and you can't even feel an injury. That one you can. Every jump, it's pain. And so that was like riding with one hand tied behind my back, it felt like. And I got a few more rode to secure the NFR, but that groin was bad. So I didn't even get on a bull or do anything that whole break before the NFR. I didn't even know if I could go. Kind of went home and hid and went in a dark hole, it felt like. And I go to that rodeo Bible camp of Sylvan's in November and get on a nice bull there for practice, and rode him perfect, and there was no pain. So And I'm sure I did my fair amount of praying before that, like, please let me know if I can even do this. And if I'm meant to go. And that was my sign, I guess, because that practice bull went perfect, and went to the NFR, though still not quite knowing if I could get on 10. Like, my groin felt better, but it still didn't feel quite right to me. And first bull, rode him, no pain, and I decided that NFR to treat it totally different. The first 3 NFRs I didn't really, or I guess I wasn't as responsible as I should have been. I was young and stupid, and I was out all night every night. And this time in 21, I decided I'm gonna treat this like I'm here for a reason, and that I ain't gonna go partake in anything. So I went to my hotel room, maybe had dinner with my folks every night, and then went to my hotel room and went to bed. And I started doing the visualization thing again. I'd sit on the corner of my hotel bed and ride the bull in my mind 3 or 4 times, as real as I could make it. And I didn't think about, like, even that first night you get your first 2 draws for a bull, and I didn't even look at the second one. I just was focusing on the one I had to get on. That's all that mattered. And shoot, I'll be darned if I didn't have the best NFR. That one showed me what it could have been like.
Yeah.
And I wish that I had done those things on the other 3, definitely. Because I was finally in control mentally. And that was my potential of what I could ride like. Won 3 out of the 10 rounds. Got second in a round, I think, too. Whatever round it was, I lost my rope at 7.9 on something, and that cost me the average. Josh Frost had me by 1 bull. 10th round had a good one that everybody loved, and he bucked me off.
What was it?
War Cry of Julio Marino's.
Yeah.
And everybody's 88 to 90 on him. And that one, I think it got to me. I knew that one was for all the marbles as far as the average. And then I was still faintly in the conversation for a world title. I don't think mathematically I would have won it regardless, but I didn't know that then. And I remember nodding my head on him, and I was a little bit awake. And he sucks back really hard out of there, and I got pulled down, and he popped me in the face, and I slapped him, and it was over. And then Josh is 90 or 91 on something of pages and wins the average. And I was so close, because I think if I'd have won the average at the national finals rodeo, that would have been my gold buckle, maybe, but didn't quite work out. But it did show me that I can even belong at the NFR. And now I'd like to make it back another 1 or 2 times at least to A, get that 5th NFR qualification and up, and then B, go, ride to my potential again and not ride 3 or 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
And maybe, I've been told so many times, I don't think I've ever truly let myself believe it, but that I could be a world champion, or should be. I've been told that too many times for me to not think about it, but I think that I've always struggled with truly feeling that, I guess.
How come?
I think the confidence is a big part of it. I'm almost too humble, maybe. Even when I do something great, I have this habit of the first thing when someone says good job is I say something negative. Like, well, I could have done this, but oh well, or oh well, I screwed up a little bit every time. And my girlfriend gets mad at me all the time for that, because she sees it. And she always says something about it. Like, quit tearing yourself down. Like, you just did something good. And I think there needs to be a line. I always respected Sage Kimsey very much because somebody would walk up to me and say, like, is he cocky? He looks like he's cocky. And I always tell him, no, he's confident. And I respected that he wasn't cocky. He just knew he was going to do good because he believed in himself. And he did. He'd go do it. He's a 7-time world champion. And his mind frame was just something that I've never been able to quite attain. I think it's attainable, though. I think a good start would be going back to my roots and visualizing my rides before I get on. Because look how it paid off. I won $190,000 at that NFR doing that, and I still don't do it. Like, what an idiot. I've had this conversation before, and I always leave the conversation like, all right, I'm going to start doing that again. Well, still don't do it. Don't know why. It's not a chore even. It's just easy. But I think that I could use a little more confidence, or not. The humble needs to meet the confidence, maybe, is the line that people need to be at. And I just lack a little bit in the other department.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably a pretty good place to end this deal.
All right.
But I guess you're going to rodeo now.
I am.
You're healthy, you're going.
Yep. First 6 bulls, no out of ordinary growing pain. And rode one the other day I tried really hard on, and it felt a lot more like the old days. So I think I'm headed in the right direction. I just not getting into many rodeos due to qualifications. So
yeah.
Start at the bottom and work my way up again.
Well, that's where you started the first time, right?
Yep. And maybe go to some rodeos I wouldn't have normally entered, and maybe that'll keep things fresh.
Yeah. Well, it's been an amazing career so far. And I've always loved the story of Scott and you. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy, and he didn't get the credit that he deserves, in my opinion. And he doesn't care, which is the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you being humble about everything that you've done and still respecting him for all of that is pretty neat.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming out, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I never would have had this on my list of things to do, being on a podcast, but it ain't as hard as it sounds.
No, you're pretty good at it. I'm surprised.
Well, when you treat it like I'm just talking to you, it goes a lot further than thinking about the mics and the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But it's been fun.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.